Okay, welcome back, and in this video I'm going to talk about how to use the DX6 as a master and a master-slave buddy box arrangement, with the DX6 being the master and the DX5 that's already been programmed to be the buddy box. And note that the DX5 can no longer fly the airplane because we bound the DX6 radio to the receiver, and the receiver can be bound to one and only one transmitter. So the DX5 won't work as a master unless we rebound it, but it is set up with the right switches and all, and will be a very good buddy box. So I'm going to turn the radio on and make sure that we're in the right Sport Cub, which we are. And so to go into the trainer setup, we've got to first go into the function list, go almost to the bottom, and go into the system setup. And yes, I'm sure I want to go into system setup. And then come down to here where it says trainer. Excuse me. Bad cold today. So trainer has three possibilities. This is the training menu: wired, wireless, and trainer alerts. Now we're going to use a wireless trainer because it's so much simpler than having a wire dangling between you and the student. And then I'll also explain how the trainer alerts work. So I'm going to go in first to the wireless trainer setup, and I don't want that inhibited, so I'll change that to programmable master. And what that means is that the programmable master and the buddy box have to have more or less the same programming, basic setups. Okay, so which is fine. I think that's the best place to start. So now I get to decide which of the channels the student gets. And so the student does need to use the throttle. Notice it says slave up here. So the switch is toward the top of slave for the throttle, aileron, elevator, and rudder. So the gear and the aux 1 need to remain with the master. And then down here at the bottom, switch I don't want that switch I want that switch H. Remember, I is this button on top, and H is this switch back here. So we're going to use switch H. It's really, really hard to hold that button down for 10 minutes. And it's just as safe doing it with the switch. So, but you got to have your finger on that switch at all times if you're an instructor. So, so now we have switch H, and master override I want to inhibit. Okay, what master override does says if I move any of my sticks, throttle or aileron or elevator or whatever, if I move any stick, then no matter what the position of switch H is, the master assumes control. I don't like that as an instructor because sometimes I'm sitting here flying the airplane as if the student was, and sometimes, you know, I'll go, all right, he's going to need to add power, so I'll throw the throttle like to 100%, and it won't do anything till I flip the switch. But if I had it as active, master override active, if I move that throttle or just even bump it, the student loses control. So I don't like that. So that's the settings for wireless. Now let me back up a step and go into trainer alerts. Okay, so instructor, in the trainer alerts I want a voice, and I want it to say, it's way down here toward the end, it's going to say instructor has control. There it is, instructor control. And I want a voice alert that says student control. So right after instructor control is, or just before instructor control, is student control. And then no student, no signal, I want a voice that says no student signal, which is, these three are settings are all in more or less the same. There it is, no student signal. So trainer alerts means if I flip the switch, I'm going to get a voice command that says instructor has control, or student has control, or no student signal. So let me go back to the previous menu and list, and go back to the main menu. So in the main menu, notice that switch H is in the normal mode, which would be the mode it needs to be in order to start the transmitter, because you always want to start as the instructor. So now if I flip the switch, you're going to hear it say student has control and no student signal.
Student has control, no student signal. Instructor has control. Student has control, no student signal. Instructor has control.
By the way, here's how you change the volume. It's set at 50% now. I'm going to turn it up to like 80%.
80.
Okay, so just by hitting the back button, I'm hitting the back button over here. I'm going to turn it down to 70. So that's 70.
Volume 70. Student has control, no student signal. Instructor has control.
Okay, so now that's set, and I'm going to stop for a second, get the DX5 ready, and I'll show you how you bind the DX5 and the DX6 together in a wireless buddy box. So I'll be right back. Okay, I've got the two receivers sitting here side by side, and this is just like binding a receiver and a transmitter together, because inside the DX6 there is a receiver for the wireless trainer mode, and so I'm going to bind the DX5 to the internal receiver of the DX6. So how do you do that? Well, first off, I'm going to turn the DX6 on, and I'm going to go into system setup. Yeah, I'm going to go into system setup, and then I'm going to go to trainer mode and wireless trainer mode. And right over here, the first place you come to if you roll the roller one click is bind. So that turns the internal receiver inside the DX6 into a bind mode, and then you can bind the DX5 and DX6 together. So what I'm going to do is hit my roller, starting the bind button, starting the binding process inside the receiver of the DX, the receiver inside the DX6. I'm going to pull this away because I want to be at least 2 or 3 feet away from the two things when we bind. So off camera, after I hit this bind button, I'm going to pull this away, pull the trainer switch, pull the trainer switch here on the DX5, which puts it in bind mode, and power it on, and then these two will bind together. So if we're ready, let's hope it works. And so we go bind.
Binding. Bind complete.
Okay, you saw it said bind complete, and we're bound.
Bind complete.
Okay, so this transmitter, the DX5 transmitter, is now bound to the receiver inside the DX6, and the DX6 communicates to the airplane. And let me stop the airplane, stop the camera for a minute, and we'll actually prove that with the airplane in just a second. Okay, so we're ready to demonstrate the trainer buddy box stuff. Everything's off. I'm going to turn the DX6 radio on first and let it get warmed up. And notice it came up in instructor mode, no warnings. So now I'm going to plug in the battery for the airplane. Okay, got good tone, and I'll even do a little test here. Ailerons aren't going to work because they're not attached, so I'll do elevator, okay, and rudder, and I'll even do a little bit of throttle here. Okay, throttle doesn't work. Oh, why not? Guess what? Throttle doesn't work. Yes, it does. I have the throttle cut switch, so I can move this throttle up to 100%, nothing happens, and I'll move it to idle. I can hit the clear button to stop the counter, then I can hit this normal mode, and now the throttle will work. Okay, I'm going to put throttle cut back on. So now that's set. I'm going to turn the DX5 radio on and give it about 20-30 seconds to make sure these two are talking to one another. So the DX6 I'll move over here, and now I'm going to move the switch, the H switch here, into trainer mode. And so listen.
Student has control.
Notice it says student had control, and no student signal didn't say anything about that. So now I'm going to pick up the DX5 and move the elevator. Elevator back means that goes up. Elevator forward means that goes down. Rudder to the right. Rudder to the left. And the throttle channel works. And hope you noticed that even though the throttle cut is on the DX6, the throttle works on the DX5. Okay, so you have to be careful. So that's in normal mode, which would normally be the case. So you're going to put that in normal mode, and so now we have a functioning DX5 as a buddy box, and even the throttle works. And as a caution, the throttle on the DX5 will work and should be in idle. Before, in other words, you got to talk to your student and make sure that the throttle is in idle before you flip the switch to the student. Because if that throttle is he's in 100%, that airplane is going to take off somewhere. Hopefully not at you. So if I flip it back to
Instructor has control.
Instructor has control, then the DX5 does nothing, and the DX6 is now back, okay, in control. So buddy box system is working just as advertised. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this video, and enjoy the next one.